Let me do a double check. Today is June 25th, 2021, and I survived the 2021 school year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I did not quit, I did not retire, and I plan to return in the fall. So it's been pretty successful from what I can feel.
So back to the school year, did you find that you were working more hours than in the past to cope with all the different changes?
So I think there was a lot of work that happened, before school, late into the evening. Especially, I think the hardest, if I could pinpoint, the toughest part of this year was having to flip on a dime from in-person to remote.
Right,
So
because it would literally happen overnight.
So this is what happened. October 18th, it was a Sunday. I found out at 8:03 p.m. that my kids were going remote the next morning. So I had to be ready. So I had to take all my in-person lessons
And change it
and
to
flip
remote.
them to remote to be able to launch at 8 o'clock the next morning.
That's stress.
Because I was up most of the night trying to get ready. And then there are other things like the automatic movement between in-person to remote is that people don't understand that you can't just send a kid home with a Chromebook for 10 days and assume that kid's going to be successful. So the time we got sent home in February, the assistant principal walks into the room, and it was in the middle of science social studies, so that means it had to be after 3 o'clock, and school gets out at 3:50. He walks into the room, and the kids are like, no, no, no. And they all do like this, and they're like, absolutely not. And he walks over, and he turns his back to him, and he's like, I need you to get them ready. We're going home for 10 days. And one of the kids was like, we heard that. Kids are crying. They're getting their backpacks, right? And I turned to the kids and I was like, okay, guys, I think we must have been in science by that point. I was like, you guys, we're going to have to scrap science. Let's go over what we need to do in 40 minutes. All right, Mrs. We need to, you have to cut that out, sorry. So they go through the list and they say, all right, we need to make sure we can log on to Zearn, which is our remote math option. And they turn to my teammate and they're like, we're going to need the Zearn packet for the next 10 days. We need our math spiral. Does everyone have a pencil? And they made a list. We went through and we made a list. And they're like, we probably should wipe down the room before we leave, right? And they just keep going through this list. And that happened 5 different times. And it's a little bit of post-traumatic stress because that's what they did to us last March.
Yes, remember? It was like,
We
you're
were
going home and that's it.
We were originally told earlier in the week, hey, we're gonna take the next week off before spring break. So let's get some stuff together that kids can do, right? And then we'll do spring break and then we'll be back. And so we literally had Friday the 13th to get ready for them never to come back to us. So
But you didn't know then that they would never come.
No, but we knew we needed to get enough stuff together for the week before spring break and a few days after spring break. So we were scrambling. When we went home this past November, we found out between lunch and specials that we were going home before Thanksgiving. Here all of us thought we had Thursday and Friday because we'd already been told we were going to be home between Thanksgiving and Christmas, that we had less than 3 hours to get the kids ready for 6 weeks away from us.
That's insane.
And by the way, we were supposed to be teaching while we were still doing this.
Right. And you really couldn't. It was
No.
all preparation for kids
Right.
who are going home.
It was things like, really, okay guys, do you have your book for literacy? Do you have your notebook and your binder for literacy? Because, I teach all the subjects, so I had to make sure. And hey, by the way, we're going to transition from social studies to science while you're gone. So hey, here's social studies, and hey, here's what we're going to be teaching a month from now in science.
And you had to have all that
We'd have,
ready to go home.
and hey, by the way, we have 450 kids and only 2 copiers. So they started to
Right.
stagger, like kindergarten, this is when you have your copier. First grade,
Seriously?
yes. And you
Because
get,
demand was so high.
and it was better for 5th grade because in Jefferson County, every 5th grader gets a Chromebook.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of ours was remote, could be online. Whereas like the Ks, just think about that.
all
How
paper.
starting kindergarten, not knowing letters, sounds, how to read, and not know how to use a device or how to do anything and start
Right.
remote that way.
I
Yeah.
can't imagine.
So it was, I think the toughest part of the year was simply just the automatic switch from in-person to remote.